Hi there, welcome to Kneppy Invest and welcome to March 11, 2025. There's about 30 minutes left of trading today. Well, actually 40 minutes because I'm not including the closing auction. Now, those who have a finer eye have an eye for finer details might notice that I'm a little bit different today. Feeling a little bit foxy. In fact, not only am I feeling a little bit foxy, I have decided to record this video near the Golden Gate Bridge, I think. I think this is the Golden Gate Bridge. Anyway, I should actually know where it is since I am right there recording this video. Anyway, feeling a little bit foxy today. I've just been exploring some avatars and some backgrounds in Zoom. I did not know it existed, and I don't think I could record this whole video looking like this. Funny enough, no hands. I'm waving my hands around, but if I do lean over, yep, the avatar leans over. Yep, there it is. Turn my head. Yep, it turns my head. If I leave the room, the avatar doesn't leave with me. It just stays there doing nothing. Anyway, so interesting avatar. There was a few different ones I could have chosen from, including cats, dogs, cows, and I'm not sure why. I'm pretty sure this is a fox. Anyway, what I'll do now is go back to my own ugly head, and I might keep a background. I don't mind this background. It's a pretty nice background. Okay, there we are, back to normal. It took me ages to change, about, was that 3 or 4 minutes, to actually know how to change back to my normal self. But I do like this background, definitely better than my usual background, but I'm not in San Francisco. It does look like the Golden Gate Bridge. I'm not sure exactly it is. Yeah, anyway, actually, funny enough, I did actually learn about the Golden Gate Bridge. The designer was Joseph Strauss. And that's the only thing I remember, Joseph Strauss. Anyway, on to the ASX today. And a pretty bad day for quite a few sectors, including tech. In fact, all tech down 4%. Not a surprise because of what happened on Wall Street overnight. And the very fact that Trump is or was hesitant in regards to a possibility of an upcoming recession is a little bit concerning. And I think that definitely freaked out the market that he said it could happen. He didn't literally say that, but he sort of implied that a recession could happen. Anyway, so that's the reason why the market is down. And if you have a look at trading economics, Asian markets plunge on US recession fears. Some other interesting things here when it comes to macroeconomics. Australia business sentiment drops sharply, but Australia's consumer sentiment hits 3-year high. So consumers feeling good, businesses not. Which one is more powerful? I don't know. If consumers keep on buying, because if their sentiment is quite high, they will think, things are looking pretty good. I'm going to keep on buying. Will that affect business sentiment, or maybe the reverse? I have no idea. I thought consumer sentiment is maybe a little bit more powerful than business sentiment. But if business sentiment is really low, then they will stop spending like on innovation, investments, that sort of thing. And that could actually hurt. And also employing people. And that could hurt consumer sentiment. I don't know. Some other interesting things here. UK retail sales growth slows more than expected. Indonesia consumer mood drops to 3-month low. Who cares? That's only a 3-month low. And Japan, fourth quarter GDP growth revised slightly lower, but it's mainly based off recession fears. And Trump could have sort of allayed those fears if he was much more bullish, but the very fact that he sort of dodged a question was a little bit concerning. Okay, so now on to what I'll do is I'll talk about what we're going to do in today's video. Exactly the same as other videos. Look at the ASX today. I've come up with the top 5 stocks of the day. I've just recorded the stock of the day, which is Ramelius Resources. Share price down 14% on a mine plan for Mount Magnet. And the other 4 companies in the top 5 include Brickworks, Nickel Industry, share price down like 20% on nothing. Redox got an ASX query about their results, and all those company share prices are down. And the last one, Vista Group, share price is up. This is a software developer for movie theaters. And the chart for that company and this announcement, pretty good. So I'm very happy to be at least having one good news story in the top 5 stocks of the day. Okay, let's move on to the ASX today. So yeah, it's been a pretty negative day. although resources up 0.16%. It's definitely not been gold. And I suppose the whole reason why XJO is only down 0.65% or it's only down 0.87% is because of mining, because small caps down 2.6% and all tech down 4%, which again is not a surprise because NASDAQ was down, what was NASDAQ down? 3.81%. Okay, so let's go back to the ASX today. And if we have a look at what's been happening, we have seen a small rally in the XGO and XEO since about midday. It was down, I'm pretty sure they were down about 1.5%, and now only down 0.7 to 0.9%. So we have seen a little bit of rally during the day. Not so true with the all tech. XTX has been fairly low all through the day. If you have a look at the best performing sectors, utilities had a really good day. Energy and staples, defensive. Understand that. I do think some investors are moving to more defensive stocks. It doesn't mean that will work out in the long run, but definitely see that sort of movement happening. Materials only down 0.04%, and not a bad day for real estate or financials either. Now, in saying that, financials, again, banks are cyclical. In fact, banks are highly cyclical. They're not defensive. So I'm hoping people aren't running to the banks as a defensive move. They're not defensive. If we do go in recession, and if it's a really bad recession, maybe even a depression, banks are going to suffer pretty big. And you will see the share price of banks fall a fair bit. And by far the worst performing sector is IT, down 4.19%. Okay, and yeah, banks actually up 0.23%. That's interesting because I did read something this morning that everything in America went down, including the banks. Banks were down pretty big. So again, I think that is more of a flight to perceived safety by some investors. In fact, the ASX 20 is actually up 0.08%. So if you're heavily invested in the top 20 companies, you've done okay today. So I think that's also maybe a sign that more risky assets, people are fleeing from those into perceived safety, perceived safer assets like bigger companies, the blue chip companies. And that would actually explain why the ASX 20 is up. In fact, let's delve a little bit deeper into the ASX 20. Yeah, it really rallied from about 12:30. So a really good rally in the ASX 20. And if we have a look, 10 companies up, 10 companies down, and by market cap, yeah, so BHP, so it looks like iron ore. Some of the banks are up a fair bit. Westpac, NAB, and ANZ all up, particularly Westpac and ANZ, up about 1%. Commonwealth Bank is actually down 0.41%. So that run to perceived safety, not really happening with CBA because it's probably perceived to be overvalued. Worst performing companies, probably REA Group, WiseTech, which is understandable. Both of those are tech companies. Medicus no longer in the ASX 20, down about 10% today. Last time I looked. Okay, so that's the ASX today. And now let's have a look at the top gainers. Top gainers and a company called Aruma Resources. Actually did have a look at this one because share price was up 50%. Turnover okay, but they did receive a price query from the ASX. So that's not really a company I want to look at. A market cap is only $3 million. And most of the good performing companies today by percentage change are up on fairly low turnover. And these are fairly small companies. I'll be honest with you, there's no point looking at any of these companies. Probably the bigger company here is Aurelia Metals, up 8.54% on pretty good turnover. And the market cap of that company is $376 million. Let's go have a quick look at the chart for this one, just to see what's happening here. Chart, no, it doesn't look that bad. Did they release anything? I can't remember. They could have. I might have just missed it. And no, they have not released anything. So you could say this is just a little bit of noise. And we'll go with that line of thought. Okay, so let's turn our attention to the top gainers by market cap. We might have some more interesting companies here. Resmed, not a bad day for Resmed. Up 3.28%. I don't remember Resmed releasing anything. Maybe there was a bit of news out. There you go. They did release something. Form, though it's not marked price sensitive, Form 154, notice of price proposed sale of securities. To be honest with you, who cares? I'm just going to actually Google this one. Is there any rumors out there when it comes to Resmed? Let's have a look. News. We could look at Motley Fool Australia. Resmed insiders sold 12 million of shares, suggesting hesitancy. Okay. And that was 10 hours ago from Simply Wall Street. Let's just have a look at what Motley Fool says. They also talk about Really Metals, by the way. And in fact, they say with Really Metals, this is despite there being no news out of the gold miner on Tuesday. Though it is worth noting that its shares have been on fire this year, and this is a continuation of the uptrend. Let's have a look. I wouldn't say shares are, well, I suppose, yeah, from the 1st of January, but the chart doesn't look that good. Let's see what Motley Fool says about Resmed. Up almost 3%. This sleep disorder treatment company shares were among a small group of shares that avoid the sell-off on Wall Street overnight. There you go. Goldman Sachs would no doubt be encouraging investors to buy shares following recent weakness. Last week, the broker added Resmed shares to its coveted conviction list with a buy rating and $49 price target. Maybe that is why there's been a little bit of strength in Resmed. Let's have a look at Resmed, New York Stock Exchange. Yeah, it's actually had a couple of really good days in a row. That could be because of Goldman Sachs. Yeah, up 1.8% on the New York Stock Exchange. Interesting. That's a coal company, Yancoal up, so maybe a bit of the very fact New Hope is up, Yancoal is up, means it probably was a nice little rally in coal companies. Mostly here we do see mining companies, apart from Cleanaway Waste and Vista Group. Share price up 4.2%. I'll talk about that company later in the video. Other than that, there's not much else I want to talk about here. So let's turn our attention to the top losers. And you're going to see a little bit of carnage here, particularly when it comes to growth companies that have a perception of being overvalued. So top losers, Bioxyne down 20.69%. I would say that is just some profit taking. Let's have a look at the chart. You can see in the past year, share price is up 156%. Markup now 47 million. Yeah, but let's have a look at the chart. Is this an opportunity? Oh, the other thing is the volume, massive volume coming through today. So this could be capitulation. This could be the bottom. The other thing I want to point out, I did actually have a look at this. If you have a look at the 1 minute chart, we saw massive, so some really big selling from about 11 a.m. And then we saw some pretty big buying, some big orders came in at 11:48. So between 11 o'clock and midday, a lot of trading in that 1 hour, and it really culminated in big trade, maybe one big trade at what time was this? At about 11:48. Let's have a look at the course of sales for Bioxyne, see if we can see that. And this could be capitulation. This could be the end of, well, it all depends on the market as well. So what did I say, 11:48? Now that is my time, so that means 12:48. Yep, oh, there it is, 6 million shares at 12:48.51. In fact, at that particular time, there was one big trade, so a lot of shares traded at that particular time, 6 million shares traded. So really high volume coming in today, 38.8 million shares traded. If you look at the trade history, that's significant. So big trading day for Bioxyne. And if I was interested in this company, this could be a nice little time to take a position. A really good pullback. But again, it's just the overall market. That's probably the only thing that would scare me when it comes to Bioxyne. By the way, I do own this company, not trading it. I do have this in my super, and stocks that are in my super, I don't usually follow what happens with the share price. So the only reason I'm looking at it now is because it was in the top losers, and there's a chance I might add to this position because the share price has fallen a fair bit from its highs. Okay, so that's Bioxyne. You can see a lot of small companies here, plus Nickel Industries, not a small company, 2.65 billion markup, share price down 18%. I'll talk about Nickel Industries later in the video. Wide Open Agriculture had a good day yesterday, down today. That's sort of what you usually see. And there's Ramelius Resources, share price down 15%. And that is the stock of the day. Now onto the top losers by market cap. And this is where you're going to see a lot of, I'll call them growth companies with a perception of being overvalued. And the top of that list is Medicus, share price down 10.78%. I probably also should mention, about 2 weeks ago, I sold half of my Medicus, also sold half of about 5 other companies that I do think are overvalued. I don't want to sell completely. And One of the reasons I did that was just to build up my cash levels. I needed that to pay some money to buy the land. And also I wanted a little bit of cash on the sidelines because of a bit of uncertainty in the market. So a couple of things or a couple of reasons why I've increased my cash levels. And one of the ways I did that was to take profits, not completely, but sell half of Medicus. Was a technology one, definitely Aristocrat, Medicus, Aristocrat, Breville Group, maybe technology one as well. The share price of that company has risen a fair bit. Not Telix, that was the one I did not take profits, and I might be regretting that now. Anyway, in fact, Medicus has fallen through a nice little support level at about $230. In fact, the share price has dropped from 300 to 230. So share price has dropped over 25%. 730, 22, about 22 to 23% since its highs. And to be honest with you, if there is continuing weakness in the market, Medicus share price will drop even more than this. And then I will back up the truck. If it drops enough that I see really good value, I will buy some more Medicus shares. Okay, so let's go back to the top losers. Other companies in this lot include Catapult, Droneshield. Someone actually did mention Droneshield. Yeah, someone did mention Droneshield. If I go to community, where was it? From AU5657, Droneshield is going to have a second run because of Europe lifting up their defense spendings at the request of Trump. I'm not sure if it's at the request of Trump. I think they're doing it because Trump is pulling out. I think they're doing that because Trump is pulling out. I did read that Germany has some sort of mandate, maybe it's not called a mandate, some sort of rule where they can only spend 1% of their GDP on defense, and they've got rid of that rule, and they're going to spend way more. And I don't think it's at the request of Trump. I think they have to do it because Trump is sort of he's signing more with Putin and Russia than anything else. I think it's going to hit $1.40, $1.50 again or higher. They got their NATO supplier membership last year, so should benefit from it. Watch out for any new contract coming in. Yeah, so pretty good comment here from AU, and that is a really good reason why Droneshield share price is running up. Unfortunately, a bit of weakness in the market today. Share price has dropped. So this could be a good buy the dip situation for Droneshield. Other companies here, a few smaller gold companies like Alkane Resources, I think that's gold. Mika Metals, maybe some of these other ones like Callus Metals is gold. I didn't think gold was that weak. Biome down 10.91%. And that's about it. Okay. I thought there'll be more. HMC Capital, that's infrastructure, data center infrastructure, that sort of thing, down 10.95%. Also, Oral Bounder's down as well. So a lot of weakness in gold, which is interesting. And I'm pretty sure Capstone Copper did a capital raising. I'm pretty sure Capstone Capital did a capital raising. Let me just confirm that. This is a Canadian-based company who have listed on the ASX. English translation of water treatment contract. I actually do remember this now. They went to training help yesterday, and it was just about they had to translate a water treatment contract. Okay, because I suppose they're Canadian and they must be based in Quebec, because that would be French. I've been to Montreal once, and this is when I'm quite young, and I just remember we were driving, trying to find, I have relatives who live in Montreal, on my mother's side, cousins, that sort of thing. And we'll try to find directions. And whenever we pulled up and asked directions in English, people just ignored us. My mother can speak French. I don't think she spoke French at this point, on this occasion, but she definitely spoke French with my grandmother because French was their native tongue. In fact, my grandparents were in Egypt, native or French native speakers, and they had to leave. They were British citizens back then. This is in World War II. And they had to leave. And half the family went to Canada, Montreal, and half the family went to Australia. I'm not sure why Australia. I would have assumed Montreal, French speaking, hello, but I'm very happy they actually moved to Australia because more than likely I would not have been born. Anyway, so that's Capstone Copper, share price down because of an English translation of water treatment contract. Okay, so let's move on to the top 5 stocks of the day. And we'll start off with Vista Group. Start off with a good one, Vista Group. Share price up 5.11%. Chart looks absolutely stunning. I, at one point, was trading this, and then I realized liquidity was a little bit of an issue for me. And I'm trying now to stay away from low liquidity trades because sometimes I just want to get out as soon as possible. Anyway, they have signed a new contract with Odeon Cinemas. Never heard of them. Group signs to Vista Cloud. I actually did not open up this particular announcement. Don't really need to. It's a new contract. A nice little win for Vista Group. So Odeon looks like largest cinema operator in the world. Oh, no, wait. I was going to say, Odeon Cinemas Group is a subsidiary of AMC Cinemas, which is the largest cinema operator in the world, but not doing that well when it comes to their listing on the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ. This was one of those meme stocks, by the way. Yeah, New York Stock Exchange. You're not doing that well. Share price has dropped significantly since 2021. Although this was a meme stock for a while. That's probably where the share price dropped. And yeah, not doing well. $2.98 at its peak, $380. Jeez. Hope people sold this company before it started dropping. But anyway, back to this announcement. If I can find it, here it is. Odeon. So it looks like they're in the UK and Europe. They're talking about UK, Ireland, Odeon's largest territory with 114 sites. So this looks like it's a pretty big cinema chain. And maybe if AMC Cinemas is not a client of Vista Group, this could be sort of a door into the world's largest cinema operator in the world. And by the way, there's no numbers here. And sometimes I do like to see numbers, but there's no numbers here. Now onto the chart, and this is where it does get a little bit interesting. Vista Group, it is a New Zealand-based company, and this company was, yeah, I wouldn't say a market darling, but back in 2019, share price rose to a high of 560, and then it dropped from 560 all the way down to $1, not helped by COVID-19. The share price was dropping before COVID-19, so something bad happened just prior to then. And yeah, the share price dropped all the way to $1. Took a while before the share price moved into a really nice uptrend, and that happened late in either 2023 or early 2024. I was trading this when it started to break out, and then yeah, just liquidity issues. And that was a mistake because the share price has increased. Well, it's doubled since then. So a really nice looking chart for Vista Group. They did release some really good results. I think it was results, 28th of February. Let me just back that up, 28th of February. Vista Group hits or lifts long-term margin, hits record revenue. So it doesn't seem like that was results. It's sort of an update from the company. 4-year results announcement date. That must be results. Yeah, that was results. It's just not titled as results. 105 pages, that makes sense. It's 105 pages, that document. So yeah, I can understand why that's results, but it just says Vista Group lifts long-term margin, hits record revenue. Usually if a company releases results, they usually mention its results. Anyway, so pretty good results on 28th of February. Share price, rose on that day. Share price then went sideways. That was a nice little trade if you picked up on it. Really good breakout for Vista Group. And the chart looks pretty good. Now on to a company coming in at number 4. We have Redox. Share price down 4.17%. Company did receive an ASX aware letter. I was trading this company before they released their results. Even on the day they released results, I was trading this. Then the company released their results, immediately got straight out. The reaction from the market was really negative. I can't remember the numbers, but I do remember being disappointed with the numbers. I saw this particular media release and I went, ooh, not sure the market's going like this. Revenue up 8.6%. Gross profit margin down 1.5 percentage points. Earnings per share up 1.7%. Interim dividend 6 cents. It seemed to be fairly weak. And then the market agreed. Share price down, I have a feeling like 20%. Yeah, 20.88% on the day. And this was a trend killer. This wasn't the definition of a trend killer. Now, I've seen quite a few of these queries coming out, or aware letters coming out. And I don't mind this because if a company's results are worse than expected, then why didn't the company release some sort of announcement before they release their results? Because we need full disclosure. If they knew the results were going to be disappointing and the market would sell off on the shares, they should have made that information known to the market. And we've seen a few of these aware letters or queries from the ASX to companies. Why did you not reveal this information earlier than you did, or they did? Now, in this particular announcement, I won't go through it too much, but they did sort of mention here that Redox did not publish earnings guidance for the half-year period ending 31st of December 2024. And then they talked about sell-side analysis, the earnings forecast of those analysis. And Redox mentioned that management considers that group revenue, gross profit, EBITDA FX, profit before tax, and profit after tax as the most important metrics for market participants. See if I agree with that. Revenue, yes. Profit, I do prefer gross profit margins. EBITDA FX, nah. Profit before tax, nah. Profit after tax, yes. Also believe return on equity, return on invested capital, they're fairly important as well. Anyway, and management to assess are the most important metrics for market participants and management to assess company performance. Have regard to the commentary at paragraphs 4.A or 4B of section 7.3 of guidance, note 8, Redox does not consider that its earnings for the half year to be materially different to the market expectations based on any of these measures. There you go. So that they thought the results were not that bad. And yet the share price dropped 20%. So obviously the market didn't like it, and I didn't like it, and I suppose I'm a part of the market, and this is the chart. And this, or that day, was a trend killer. This is a definition of a trend killer. Before this particular day, share price was in a beautiful uptrend. It's why I was trading it. Beautiful uptrend, and these sort of situations don't happen all that often because the market is quite smart. The market overall is really smart, and you don't see these sort of situations when the share price of a company is an uptrend and then they release disappointing results. And when that does happen, this can be a trend killer. Not only that, unlike Ramelius, I'll talk about Ramelius later in the video, that particular one-day candlestick looks negative, but not necessarily a trend killer. This is a trend killer. Share price dropped 20%. Share price dropped below the 200-day moving average, which can be in itself a trend killer. And it was just the end of the uptrend. This was the end of the uptrend. And after that, look what the share price has done. Share price has just continued to drop. And look at the volume as well. If they want an increase in volume, they've got it. But it's not the way to get it. And not only that, the share price is now at, it's almost at a one-year low, which is not what you want to hear. It wasn't that long ago the share price was at a one-year high. And in fact, the share price has dropped. We can actually, I'll do this now. Share price has dropped from its highs. Share price has now dropped 40%. 40%. Anyway, so when the company did release their results on February 20th or whatever it was, instant sell of my trading position. I don't want to play games with that. Anyway, so that's on Redox. They did get a aware letter from the ASX, and they're saying, wow, the results were not that bad. Not sure what the market is thinking. That's what they're saying. Nickel Industries. Share price down 18.54%. We're in the closing auction. In fact, potentially share price could be down even more. No news flow from the company. In fact, the last time the company released any price-sensitive information, it was when they released their results on the 24th of February. And then for some reason, the share price is down 20% today. And they did receive a price query from the ASX. Now, a lot of times, price queries can be a trove of really good information. Now, when a company does receive a price query, typically question one is, do you have any information that you have not released to the market that can explain why the share price has dropped this much? And typically, I'd say 95% of times, maybe even more than that, I'm not sure, the company will say, no, of course we haven't. What do you think? No, that's ridiculous. And then they don't have to answer question two, but then they have to answer question three, which is, well, Nickel Industries, if you don't have any information that could explain the drop in share price, are there any is there any other reasons why the share price is down? Maybe it's nickel industries were mentioned in the AFR. Maybe there was a negative article in the AFR, or maybe some sort of post on hot copper, or maybe something happened in the nickel world overseas. I don't know. So sometimes you do get a bit of information in that particular section. So let's have a look at nickel industries price query and their answers. I have not opened this up, by the way, so I'm hoping we get some of that information. And on quick look, no. In fact, this is the most boring type of price query. Oh, I hate when this happens. Not for the video purposes, just because it's just such a lazy thing to do. So they've answered question 1, no. Question 2, actually, no, I was wrong, because question 3 is over the page. I'm sorry, Nickel Industries. For some reason, I thought they did not answer question 3, or they just answered it with just one word. But I'm wrong. I'm sorry, Nickel Industries. I am wrong. So they have answered question 1, no. And if you answer, or they answer question 1, no, they don't have to answer question 2. They can move on to question 3, which is over the page. And they have answered question 3. This is where you might get some interesting information. Okay, so in fact, they've mentioned there are several matters that may be contributing to the decrease in the company's share price and the increase in volume. This is also fairly important. The ASX is also interested in volume. So it's not only price, it's also volume. And sometimes you see it's a price and volume query. So volume today, 276 million shares traded. On a typical day, geez, that's a lot of volume. Typically, you see a few million, maybe as high as 15 million. Yeah, that's the high. 24 million one day in January. But mostly it's less than 10 million. 18 million on the 30th of October. Okay, so today the volume has been extreme. This could be just one fund manager who has a lot of shares just getting out instantly. So let's see what the company, it could be something to do with the nickel market. In fact, let's have a look at the nickel market. I do have it here. What's the ticker code? Oh, it's nickel. And nickel's been rising, fun enough. Nickel's on the rise, so it's not the nickel market. Who knows? Let's have a look at how they've explained this. Okay, and so there's a few reasons. And firstly, there was a sale of approximately 178.5 million shares, representing 4.2% of the company shares by PT Harum Energy TBK in a block trade at 69 cents per security. Let's see if we can. A lot of times this happens at the start of trading. So let's see if this was at the start of trading. There it is at the start of trading, 69 cents. This is important because this happened at 7:25 a.m., 69 cents, massive block trade. There was also another trade just after it for much less amount of shares at 72 cents. Yesterday, the share price closed at 75.5 cents. So this block trade was significantly lower. We're talking about 10% lower than what the share price was the previous day. This probably freaked out the market. This freaked out the market if this particular holder was selling shares, this amount of shares at a 10% discount, sell, sell, sell. Can you just imagine if you bought, whoever bought these shares at 69 cents are now looking, share price has dropped another 10%. They're probably thinking, oh, God, we shouldn't have done that. We should have just bought at 76 cents and the market wouldn't have freaked out. Anyway, the share price did close lower than that on open. And yeah, that's actually a really good explanation from Nickel Industries, but then there's more. A representative of Harum has now informed the company that this was part of Harum's ongoing liquidity management. Maybe they're fearful of the market. That could be it. Secondly, the press has widely reported that the Indonesian government has released a proposal for public consultation that would increase royalties for operators across multiple commodities, including nickel. The current royalty rate on nickel ore is 10%, while the proposed royalty range for public consultation is 14 to 19%. Depending on the prevailing nickel price at the time, based off the information released, the proposed royalty would be 14% of the current nickel price. At this point in time, the proposals have not been legislated. However, should this change, the company will continue to fully comply with Indonesia's laws. Okay, I'm not seeing much there. Finally, the Dow Jones Index was down 2.1% overnight. Australian markets are also sharply lower. And that's it. Yep. Okay. So 3 reasons there. Definitely the first one. Definitely see that. And I think a little bit of overall weakness in the market as well. Not sure about the Indonesian government thing. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Anyway, so that is the reason why nickel industries is down. Now, let's have a look at the chart. For NIC, and just take your time, training view, just take your time. Sometimes you just have to hit enter. And we go to Nicolet Bank Shares. There we go. Nickel Industries. And by the way, share price got as low as 55 cents. That's called panicking. Selling at 55 cents when the share price is dropping like a rock, panicking, because I don't see any significant reason. There's no real reason why the share price is down a fair bit. Sure, this one large shareholder sold some shares, a little bit of discount, but that is not a reason. Nickel prices, maybe, but yeah, so I think that is panic selling. And we have seen a nice little recovery. Share price is up about 10% from the low, and the low was reached at about 9:30, so about 30 minutes after the market opened. And you can see a massive drop in volume from about 1 p.m. Let's just see massive low volume, not massive low volume, but very low volume, comparatively speaking. That's the main thing there. Anyway, so that's Nickel Industry. It's a really interesting day for that company. Brickworks coming in number 2, down only 6.79%. I did expect it down a little bit more than that. I do see it was down as low as 22.92. So that's understandable. Down about 10% today. I probably expected that because the company did release a trading update and also a non-cash impairment. And it was a weak update. I will say that. It was a weak update. I was going to go to Capital Brief just to see what they said because I could be missing something here, but I think it was a weak update. There it is. Brickworks slumps on lower earnings guidance. I didn't care about this non-cash impairment. I don't really care about that sort of thing. It's non-cash impairment. It's in the wording, non-cash. Don't really care. Companies do that sort of thing all the time. Anyway, first half 25 earnings update. So hopefully we're going to see more of these updates over the next few months because we're in a fairly boring period of the year and we don't get many training updates, which is my favorite type of announcement. Anyway, property EBITDA will be higher than prior corresponding period. I don't really care about property EBITDA because this is based on valuations of property. And it could be higher, could be lower. And I'm not a big fan of how companies or some companies like REITs have a really big profit one year and really big loss the next year just because of property valuations. Anyway, I think that's the first bullet point. The second bullet point, Building Products Australia is expected to deliver EBITDA broadly in line with the prior corresponding period. So that's sort of disappointing. No growth in EBITDA for Building Products Australia. And Building Products North America, EBITDA will be slightly lower. No, not slightly, significantly lower. There's a big difference between slightly and significantly. Significantly could be down 90%, 99%. Slightly would be down like 5%. Anyway, driven by the impacts outlined above. Oh, okay. So if you have to go back up here, certainty around the timing of the market recovery, factors such as labour shortages, elevated material costs, interest rate uncertainty, and geopolitical volatility has resulted in a moderation of the short to medium term outlook for sales activity. There you go. I completely missed that one. Anyway, so EBITDA in North America is expected to be fairly lower, together with unusually extreme winter weather conditions in our key regions during the latter part of the half. So it does sound fairly negative, but they did say they will provide no guidance in relation to Brickworks' net profit after tax. So share price is down, and let's have a look at the chart. I would say that's the 1 minute chart. Again, just like Nickel Industries, the low in Brickworks was just after open in the first 30 minutes. That can be a good reason not to sell in that first 30 minutes. Not always, but it can be a good reason. Now, let's have a look at the daily chart for Brickworks. And actually, today is a fairly negative day. I do have this long-term uptrend, by the way. If we go to the weekly chart, this uptrend it's only got 2 points, however. So it was just joining up the COVID-19 low, and the June 2022 low, and it's gone through that uptrend. That's not a very strong uptrend because it only has 2 points. The other thing I just want to point out here is if you have a look at the 200-week moving average, because I would say there could be an argument this company is high quality, and whenever the share price does drop below the 200-week moving average, could be a good time to buy this company. We saw a long period back in 2000 or between 2008 and 2012, and then since then, on occasion, share price does drop below that moving average, and that's the time to buy. And now, look where it is. Share price is just below the 200-week moving average. So this could be a time to buy some Brickworks shares if you think this company is high quality. Now, we're following, the reason I say that is if you're following Charlie Munger's rule that if you buy high quality companies below the 200-week moving average or near the 200-week moving average, you will significantly beat the market. So the most important thing area there is high quality companies. So is Brickworks a high quality company? And if you believe it is, now could be a good time to buy some shares in this company. Okay, now on to the stock of the day, Ramelius Resources. Share price down, it's all 17.2%. When I record the video, share price was down 14.7%. So a little bit of selling during the last hour or so. This was in regards to Mount Magnet mine plan update and extension. Disappointing the market. So their production for 2026 and 2027 was below expectations. In fact, 2027, it was significantly below expectations. And also, I think, if I remember correctly, the all-in sustaining costs were a little bit higher than expected as well. And the best production won't be for another 8 years. In fact, production after 2027 does drop off, and all-in sustaining costs actually do rise. So this particular Mount Magnet mine plan update disappointed the market. So share price is down 17%. Now, in saying that, this could be a buy the dip situation. So let's have a look at the daily chart. So share price has dropped in between the 100-day and the 200-day moving average. We do see this on occasion with this company. And when it's happened the last 2 or 3 times, it's been a nice little buy the dip situation. But this sort of candlestick can be a killer. I've mentioned with Redox that when you do see a really bearish one-day candlestick, that can be a trend killer. I'm not convinced this is a trend killer because the share price has been a nice little tear. So share price has pulled back, but the share price is not at a 3-month low. It's only at a 1-month low, if that. So there could be some buying coming in, but we have not seen that buying today at all. In fact, the share price has closed at the low of the day, which is not a good sign. Okay, so that's Ramelius Resources, the stock of the day. I have done a standalone video on that company. Now, let's look at one of your comments. One of your comments, I've already mentioned Droneshield. So in a way, I've already talked about one of your comments. So the comment of the day is AU5657 in regards to Droneshield. Some good information there, and he's absolutely right. Apart from maybe spending at the request of Trump. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think they would listen to Trump because the relationship between Europe, most European countries, and Trump is really strained right now. And I don't think they would be listening to him at all. But the rest of the information I think is really sound. Try looking at the Fonterra ticker FSF is what today's announcement better relates to. FSF, but if you put FSF, that is New Zealand. New Zealand Stock Exchange. This is not the New Zealand Stock Exchange. This is not the NZX daily update video. Fonterra does no longer exist on the ASX. Pretty good looking chart, by the way. Anyway, that's all I have for today's video. If you have any questions, any thoughts, leave those in the comment section of this video. Otherwise, I'm not a financial advisor. If you do need financial advice, make sure you seek out someone who is qualified and can speak to your own financial needs. That's it for this video. And if you really hate the background, just let me know. But I don't think anyone will be listening to this video at this point because I've just gone past the disclaimer. And yeah, so what I could just keep on talking. I could give you the meaning of life right now, and none of you will listen to it because you just don't know it exists. The meaning of life is just to procreate. That's the meaning of life. It's to keep your species going because we all die. And if you understand life, everything that is alive dies eventually. And so if you want to keep the species going, you need to procreate. So that's the only reason we live. We're alive, is to procreate, to have sex. There we go. Anyway, so that's it for today's video. If you have any questions, any thoughts, just, yeah, do whatever. In fact, I've already said that. Anyway, so that's it. Bye.